Hey guys, here's another update as Dodge keeps pushing forward with the next generation Charger. First they released the Dodge Charger Daytona EV, and now this year the 6-pack gas versions will be out. We don't know every single detail yet, but we will go over everything we know so far about these 6-packs, including part of the new lineup that includes the Dodge Charger 6-pack GT and Outlaw. So let's get into the video. So according to a recent Stellantis Dealer Connect leak, we now know the names and more information about the new gas-powered Charger models, as they are available for pre-order from the dealers for the 2026 model year. The new models and engines are meant to be directly replacing the last generation RT and Scat Pack gas models. Not to be too confusing, but Dodge did decide to keep the RT and Scat Pack nameplates for the electric Daytona. The electric Daytona came out first last year. The gas-powered versions will be called the 6-pack, and that's coming this year. I've also tried to show as many pictures as I could of the 6-packs, but there aren't many out yet, so I might show some Daytonas as well. So the new model names are actually GT and Outlaw 6-packs, with Dodge using these to differentiate between the standard output on the GT and the high output engine for the Outlaw. The GT was expected to be a base model rear-wheel drive option for the electric Charger Daytona. That would have been below the RT and the Scat Pack, but Dodge actually just chose to use GT for the gas-powered version instead. The GT will arrive first as a 4-door model, but it will get a 2-door version later on. The Outlaw is the opposite. It starts as the 2-door model and gets a 4-door option later. So going back to the two trim levels, for the GT it's still an entry-level model using the 3-liter Hurricane inline 6 standard output engine. It also has all-wheel drive, just like all the 6-packs and Daytona models. We have now seen these engines under the hood of the Jeep Wagoneer, the Grand Wagoneer, and the Ram 1500 so far, so finally they are arriving for the Charger. The GT with the standard output Hurricane makes 420 horsepower and 469 pound-feet of torque, paired with an 8-speed 880RE automatic transmission and all-wheel drive. Both the GT and the Outlaw have that same 880 8-speed automatic, which is a 4th generation ZF transmission. These can be used with gas engines, mild hybrids, or plug-in hybrids. They also support rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, and 4x4 configurations. The torque rating on the transmissions is up to 600 pound-feet. In these Chargers, drivers can actually switch into rear-wheel drive mode to keep that authentic muscle car feel, something that you couldn't do on the older Charger RT all-wheel drive models. This does compete with the 2023 Charger RT, or replaces it I guess you could say, so that had the 5.7-liter Hemi V8 with 370 horsepower and 395 pound-feet of torque. So the GT 6-pack has quite a big improvement of 50 horsepower or 13.5% more, and 74 more pound-feet of torque or 18.7% more. There is no information about performance times or fuel economy ratings yet, but with that kind of power and all-wheel drive, this GT should be able to perform similarly to a 6.4-liter Scat Pack, I'd say around 4.2 seconds from 0 to 60. The better model is the Outlaw, a name Dodge hasn't used before, but it's kind of in line with their brand image, trying to be one of the only modern-day muscle cars. It's new, but it seems to fit well and gives these 6-packs a new identity. So far, I'm not sure what visual differences the Outlaw will have compared to the GT. The main draw to the Outlaw is that it uses the high output version of that Hurricane, this time with 550 horsepower and 521 pound-feet of torque. The 2023's Charger Scat Pack that this competes with had the 6.4-liter Hemi with 485 horsepower and 475 pound-feet of torque. So the Outlaw adds 13.4% more horsepower, up by 65, and 9.7% more torque, up by 46 pound-foot. I'm not quite sure what kind of performance times this will put down, but I don't think it'll be quick as the 3.3 seconds 0 to 60 that the Daytona Charger EV Scat Pack can do. Just to speak a bit about the design and the visuals of the 6-pack, this look is very similar to the Daytona EV, and at first glance it's hard to tell the difference between the two. The gas Charger does have a different hood. The EV has a cutout where the grille is, what Dodge calls a front R-wing. Dodge says this is a call-out to the original Charger Daytona design, while also enabling air to flow through a front pass-through area, enhancing downforce while creating a unique visual profile. The 6-pack does have a different look, first with a mail slot, as well as 2 intakes on either side of that illuminated Fratzog logo, probably to allow air to flow past the radiators that's needed to cool the twin-turbo engine. There's also a vent on the bulging hood with 6-pack engraved in there. The gas model also has a dual exhaust, and I expect it to have similar wheels and tires to the Daytona, which went as big as 20 by 11.5 inch rear wheels with 325/35 ZR20 tires with 6 piston calipers. The 2 and 4-door models feature the same wheelbase, with the 4-door having smaller front doors to allow room for the rear doors that should ease access to the rear seats. The 6-pack interior should be quite similar to the Daytona, with a standard 12.3-inch central touchscreen, as well as a 10.3-inch digital gauge cluster, with the option to upgrade to a 16-inch screen. There's also interior ambient lighting with 64 available colors, a retro pistol grip shifter, and the gas-powered models will feature Charger branding on the dashboard instead of Daytona branding. So that's mostly all we know at this point about the new 6-pack Chargers. This is only part of the lineup, as there should be the full one announced at some point soon. We also are still waiting for a Hellcat comparable top performance model, whether that be for the Daytona, 6-pack, or both. Production of the 6-packs are expected to begin later in May 2025 at the Windsor Assembly Plant in Ontario, Canada, with the first units arriving in showrooms by late June. The pricing is still unknown. So that's it for this video. Let me know your thoughts about the new Dodge Charger 6-pack down in the comments section below. As always, thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe for all your Mopar content, and I'll see you in the next video.